Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. Hey, yeah. Hey, please don't make me. Hey, please don't make me shoot this bitch up. I bought bottles to the club. I'm finna juice this bitch up. Oh yeah, I'm ready. Hey, double cup empty, juice got me stuck. I can't party, I can't flex. Nigga, I don't get no fucks. That's why I'm ready. Bitch, call him about some money. Don't be petty. I got plenty. Send me automatic. Don't you tell me it get deadly. Hustling on the block, breaking jaws like I'm Eddie. Ay, got a bad bitch and she rollin', look like Kelly. What she rollin'? Yeah, flex, LA Fitness, bitch, I'm sweaty. Told her I love money.
Yo, what is up, everyone? It's your boy LZ Hoops back at it with a fire performance test on these mad dope Puma Lamelo MB1s. If you enjoy my content, please consider leaving a like or subscribe, as it really helps me review more shoes for you and helps the channel grow. But without any further ado, let's get it started right off with the traction. So Puma claims that the MB1s have these multilateral, full-length engineered traction pattern with an anti-slip compound that is designed specifically for enhanced durability and superior traction. Just to preface this interview, I haven't been able to test these outside, but from the looks of it and what other reviewers have been saying, the traction does seems to do pretty well on an outdoor court and is pretty durable. From my experience, the traction on the MB1s was pretty decent though. On a nice clean court, the traction is actually very tacky and it grips super hard. You basically stop on a dime, one of the best tractions on a clean court. When doing moves that rely on precise footwork and quick movements, you're basically covered very well. However, on a dusty court, because of the translucent pattern, the traction actually collects a lot of dust, and I mean a lot of dust. Now, I wouldn't say that the traction is very bad on a dusty court, it just collects a lot of dust. So with that being said, it's rather average on a dusty court. However, with a few wipes, you should be good to go. On a very, very, very dusty court, I haven't played on one, so I couldn't tell you how they perform, but like I said, a couple of wipes and you should be good to go. But from playing on a clean court, I actually really do enjoy the traction, and on slightly dusty courts, I haven't really had any issues, and I thought the traction was pretty good. So if I were to compare these shoes with other Puma kicks, I would say that the traction isn't as good as the All Pros, but they are better than the Dreamer. So overall, I would rate the traction an 85 out of 100. The cushioning, on the other hand, is one of the major selling points of these MB1s. So Puma uses their new Nitro foam technology throughout the midsole. And that Nitro foam is essentially like a regular EVA, but they inject nitrogen in it to add that extra responsiveness and comfort while maintaining its lightweight nature. Puma claims that it's perfect for high-energy, explosive playstyles. Now, in my first impressions video, I did say that I couldn't really feel the cushioning, but after breaking it in, I would say that the cushioning is actually pretty nice for my playstyle. Like, it's responsive and it's pretty lightweight. When you think of like the MB1s and you think of how Lamelo plays, he's not a guy that really puts a lot of force into the ground, right? So the responsive cushion really makes sense for his playstyle and for other guards' playstyle. What is interesting though is that these aren't as soft as the P-backs and the Clyde All Pros, but they're more responsive and it's more distributed, evenly throughout the shoe. In the Clyde All Pros, the heel was very soft, while the forefoot basically had no cushion. But on these shoes, you're covered in the forefoot and in the heel. These are overall a lot more sturdy and responsive, and they're perfect for anyone that plays like Lamelo or any guards in general. The impact protection, on the other hand, really isn't that good. It's basically just foam, right? And for bigger players, foam is usually, it doesn't really have that impact protection like Zoom or Nike Air. So in addition to that, actually, there's a lot of caging on this shoe, and that caging doesn't allow for the foam to compress and expand as much as it should. So inevitably, the shoe isn't as responsive and soft as their uncaged counterparts. And I really hope in the future Puma figures out a way to uncage the Nitro cushioning, as I have tried the running shoes and it does feel really good. The uber responsive and light nature does allow for really good court feel though, so if you really like court feel and you're willing to sacrifice the cushion, you are pretty good to go for these shoes. In addition to all this, the heel to toe transition, if you care about that, is pretty good. It's not clunky and rather smooth. Overall, I would give the cushioning an 80 out of 100. Moving on to the fit, support, and containment. The fit of the MB1s basically rely on the fact that they're this kind of engineered mesh-like synthetic upper, right? With fuse and ripstop on the forefoot. So the combination of these materials ultimately allow for really comfortable one-to-one fit. I do think that these fit true to size. I initially complained about how I felt that these shoes fit a bit long, but that's just how the shoe is shaped. You should be good if you go true to size. Even if you are a wide footer, I would say stick true to size because I have a slightly wide foot, and I found that going true to size was pretty comfortable for me. The Containment, on the other hand, are actually pretty good, but I do have some issues with the heel slippage, which I'll get into later on. So basically, the Containment comes from the materials, the heel cup, and the fact that you can lace these shoes up really tight, unlike the All Pros. When hooping, I actually didn't really find that there was many instances of this heel slippage, but there were one or two plays where I kind of feel my heel lifting up a bit. But overall, it's not a really big issue, and the Containment is actually pretty good. However, there just are a few instances where I do feel my foot slipping, but honestly, I don't really notice it in games. It's only really if I'm hella conscious of it, right? The lateral Containment is also pretty good. This engineered upper does a really good job. There's basically no instances where I felt my foot slipping off the footbed during cuts or hard lateral movements. And as a guard, lateral Containment and traction are one of the most important things that I look for in a shoe. So this is obviously a huge plus. You can also see the crisscross kind of plastic support pieces on the side. That's mainly for decoration, and it really doesn't do anything. But the ankle support is really good as the shoe is in mid-cut, and your ankles feel pretty supportive and protected in these shoes. The only thing that I dislike kind of about the shoe overall is that in most of the Puma insoles that I've gotten, from the All Pros to the Dreamers, the insole itself has been rather slick. And I'm not used to my foot kind of sliding inside the shoe. I've been wearing the GT cuts from time, right? And my shoes just my feet are just glued into the shoe. But once you break it in, it's not really an issue. So overall, the support, lockdown, and Containment is pretty good, and there really isn't anything that I can complain about. These shoes are made for Lamelo, whose playstyle requires the best Containment, support, and lockdown. So of course, these have to be good, right? And overall, I would give the lockdown an 80 out of 100, while the support and Containment get a 98 out of 100. So there are a few things I did want to mention in addition to all this. One of the things is that these Pumas aren't that flexible in the forefoot. They're more flexible in the midfoot. Very, very similar to the Kyrie 6s. For me, I'd like to do a lot of my moves on my toes, and I like to push off and all that stuff. So there are a few instances where I don't feel as comfortable with some of my moves as I would like it to be. However, this really isn't a big deal, and I don't mind it too much, but it is worth noting. And in addition to this, there's little to no ventilation in these shoes. I'm hooping in Canada in negative 40-degree weather, and my feet get hot. So I can literally use these as winter boots, but I don't, because they're kind of, who wears basketball shoes outside, man? That's just neck. But if you live somewhere tropical and your feet get mad sweaty, you might want to hold off on these if ventilation is one thing that you really care about. Onto the comfort and weight and style, I do think that the comfortability factor in these shoes are top tier. I really enjoy how they feel on my feet. These are one of the most comfortable shoes that I've worn in a long time. The engineered upper and the mesh kind of really combine together, and it feels like a Flyknit shoe. And I can say for certain these are one of the most comfortable shoes that have been released in 2021. When it comes to the aesthetics, I do think Puma did a pretty good job. I really like how these shoes look on feet and in person, but for me, I'm just not the biggest fan of this color. I can totally see some super clean colorways being made in the future though. White and blue or white and black. Dude, the kind of possibilities for this shoe are just endless. In addition to all that, the embroidery, the graphics, the box that it comes in, I just think it's a really good looking shoe with the proper color. One thing to note though is that when it comes to the weight of the shoe, these are really heavy, and in particular pretty bottom heavy. So if you aren't a fan of heavy shoes, you might not like these as much as some of the other shoes like the Paul Georges. But overall, man, I really think that these shoes are one of the best signature shoes from Puma and one of the best first signature shoes of all time. Not only do they perform pretty well, they are priced very well at only 140 Canadian dollars or 125 USD. I do think that if you are a guard looking for a new pair of shoes to hoop in, you can definitely consider these as an option. The only thing holding me back from 100% committing to these shoes are the lack of low cut options and the inconsistent traction during dusty courts. So if Puma ever made a low cut with a solid rubber traction pattern, I would say these might be the shoes of the year. Also, in addition to all this, I do think if you're worried about, kind of hopping on Puma's bandwagon, if you like Kyrie 6s, these feel almost exactly like and play exactly like the Kyrie 6s, albeit without the 4-foot zoom. But if you like Kyrie's and if you like shoes like Kyrie's, then you really enjoy these shoes. So I would think that if you are a guard or if you're a wing or you're someone that utilizes their quick footwork to attack or make shots and you don't really mind sacrificing some of the impact protection for responsiveness and court feel, you will love these Lamelo Ball MB1s. So that brings us to my final review rating, and I think that these shoes come out to be an 85 out of 100, making these a really good shoe for guards and smaller wing players, while not breaking the bank to do so. And overall, man, I really enjoyed these shoes, and I'd like to thank you guys once again for watching my review. And if you really enjoy my content and my reviews, please like and subscribe, as it helps me a lot and allows my channel to grow. Overall, thank you guys again, and it's LZ Hoops. We out. Peace.